Hi, everybody. This is Healthcare Sucks with Troy at Healthcare Sucks coming at you with a healthcare update. Tonight, we're going to take you to part 2 of the Epstein cover up, the big lie. Check some of this out.
Alerts. Minutes ago, the Associated Press reporting that federal jail guards are suspected of falsifying log entries to show that they were checking on inmates in Jeffrey Epstein's unit every half hour. The AP source, the one they cite, says they weren't actually checking on them and these logs were falsified. So, surveillance video reviewed after the death showed that guards never made some of the checks that were noted in the log. Again, this is the Associated Press. We're working to independently confirm that. In the meantime, let's go to correspondent Brian Yennis with more on this rapidly unfolding investigation.
Today, Attorney General William Barr temporarily reassigned the warden of the Metropolitan Correctional Center where Jeffrey Epstein died of an apparent suicide. He also placed the 2 guards assigned to Epstein's unit on administrative leave, pending the outcome of the investigations by the Department of Justice and the FBI. The moves come a day after Barr cited serious irregularities at MCC. The Associated Press reports one of the 2 guards was a substitute and not a correctional officer. The union representing the guards tells Fox News Epstein's death is the fault of the Bureau of Prisons for systemic understaffing and overworked guards. This, as a New York Post reports, Epstein hanged himself Saturday with a bedsheet wrapped around his neck and tied to the top of a bunk bed in his jail cell, apparently kneeling toward the floor and strangling himself. The criminal investigation to Epstein's alleged sex trafficking network is now zeroing in on Epstein's alleged co-conspirators, like Epstein's former girlfriend, 57-year-old Ghislaine Maxwell. In unsealed court documents, Virginia Giuffre, one of Epstein's accusers, calls Maxwell a primary co-conspirator and a madam who used to procure underage girls for sexual activities. This a day after.
And with that being said, guys, I want to come to you with some information I personally have gained. This comes from law enforcement out of Portland, Oregon. And it's going to be an unnamed source that the mistress is supposedly either gone, disappeared, or is no longer living. Does that come to a surprise to any of you guys? Because it sure didn't come to me. I'm supposed to have a meeting with him, kind of nonchalantly, let's say. But I intend to pass whatever I hear from this. I'm mostly going to try to record it. And, of course, I want to keep his name and his face out of the limelight, because people who come forward who are real whistleblowers should be protected. So with that, let's watch a few more minutes of this.
FBI agents raided Epstein's so-called pedophile island, his home on a private U.S. Virgin Island where he allegedly trafficked underage girls. President Donald Trump today defended his retweet over the weekend of a conspiracy theory implying the Clintons had something to do with Epstein's death.
And the question you have to ask is, did Bill Clinton go to the island? Because Epstein had an island that was not a good place, as I understand it, and I was never there. So you have to ask, did Bill Clinton go to the island? That's the question. I want a full investigation, and that's what I absolutely am demanding.
Lawyers for Epstein's accusers are now asking a federal judge to dismiss Epstein's non-prosecution agreement, especially parts that offered immunity to his co-conspirators. Shannon?
He spent years federal prosecutor in Manhattan before becoming the mayor of this great city, and nice to see you, and good morning. How are you?
And with that being said, come on, guys. We're talking about the Clintons here. Yeah, the Clintons. And if you think just Bill was going to the island and Hillary wasn't, the truth will come out. And they're good at burying things. If you watch some videos, you'll see that many people have just disappeared or have gotten what Epstein got. And The Clintons, they work like that. And the people that surround the Clintons. Very dirty, very nasty people. Thank God she didn't get in for president. That's my personal opinion. And with what Trump said, to be honest with you guys, I think a lot of us are thinking that and kind of got that feeling anyway. But I think there's a lot more bigger fish than the Clintons. So with that, let's listen to Rudy. By the way, this is the second video I've done on this. Feel free to go back and watch the whole thing. We're just going to clip a few clips from Rudy here and move on.
Metropolitan Correctional Center, known as the MCC, Lower Manhattan. You know it well.
I saw it being built.
You saw it being built.
Sure, it's connected to the U.S. Attorney's Office.
How would you explain it to viewers? How would you describe it? Well, what's happening on a Saturday night inside this jail?
So it's a jail rather than a prison. So people don't know the distinction between the jail is a place you hold people when they're awaiting trial. A prison is where you put them when they finally get sentenced. Those are more permanent places. Frankly, they're easier to handle, prisons. Jails are harder because they're very transient. Population in, out every day. However, there's absolutely no excuse for this. What happened here, to me, is mind-boggling. It's impossible to happen. It's a relatively small facility. This isn't Rikers Island, which is 15,000 people in virtually a city with many, many different buildings.
On its own island.
Yeah, one building. Almost everything is within view, if you want it to be, of the guards. This argument over whether he was on suicide watch or not is like silly, because if he wasn't on suicide watch, he should have been on watch. The guy was a high-risk prisoner, wasn't he? I mean, he's a guy that there are probably 50 very important people that have a motive to kill him. We don't even know who they are. I'm not alleging that any of the people named, it's true. But we know there are some people that are in a lot of trouble because of Epstein. They know who they are. So there's tremendous motive to kill him.
It's almost like
Number two,
Agatha Christie
whether
novel.
they want to kill him or not, prisoners don't like him. Right? He's alleged to be maybe the most notorious child predator of our generation. Prisoners are strange. Perverts they don't like. So they'll kill a pervert just to kill a pervert. Second, he's a possible rat also. There's a lot of talk about him testifying. I believe you have to do that. That's good for the government. They believe you're a rat when you do it. So you got three strong reasons why this man may be done in. He might commit suicide. He apparently attempted it, or he was attacked. That threat still remained even after a week. And the third one is maybe a prisoner on his own is just going to take him out like they did with Whitey Bulger. I do not understand how anyone can explain not having him under 24-hour surveillance or not checking the camera constantly. So that leads to all the speculation that we all are upset about.
Is there a camera?
But we created the vacuum for that crazy speculation.
Is there a camera?
Of course there's a camera. It wasn't working, they said. It wasn't working. The camera wasn't working. There's a camera in every part of a prison. Every single telephone call in and out of prison.
The camera wasn't working. Come on, guys. Do you believe that? No. They shut it down. They made way for people to come in, take him out, and get out of the building. The guards were paid. What we can hope for out of this is they're trying to pin this on the guards, and hopefully somebody will step up and they don't start disappearing. Well, back to this and we'll watch some more, but
Listen to. Prisons are prisons. Now, the federal prison system, I used to be in charge of it in the Reagan administration, and then I worked with it for 15 years as an assistant U.S. attorney. The federal prison system is the best in the world. When Norman Carlson ran it, he was the head of it all the time I was there. It was the model. It's hard for me to believe this could possibly happen.
How about this then, Mayor, on screen? This is what we believe to be the case here. Not placed on suicide watch, not checked for several hours, no cellmate at time of death. One guard was a substitute, guards working maximum overtime shifts.
The last two are no excuse. Whether he's a substitute or not, he has eyes. Epstein was not a tough guy to contain. I mean, if you saw him taking a sheet, anybody of reasonable build or courage could take him down, and he could call for help right away. So whether he was a substitute or not, who cares? That's silly. They were overworked. Okay, but this is the prime target prisoner in that prison. Name the one that's in more jeopardy than this guy. And okay, we don't have great sympathy for him because he's a sexual predator, allegedly. But the guy would have been a treasure trove of very important, valuable information about the truth or the falsity. And I happen to believe there's both in these stories that are coming out. There are people that are probably named that did it, and there are people that are probably named that are being horribly defamed. Only he knows it. And he's the kind of guy where you probably couldn't let him out of jail, or maybe you could give him a little light at the end of the tunnel.
And I want to say something else, guys. If you think there isn't videotapes and paperwork and other people that knows what went on, then the sky is red, white, and blue 24 hours a day. Because I can tell you right now, a guy like this was like Jimmy Hoffa. If you don't know who that is, Google it. It'll be good for you. Jimmy Hoffa, short end, worked for the Teamsters, and he kept files on everybody and everything, big time. That's what this guy did. He had insurance policies after insurance policies. Another thing, his lawyer was in there the day before and skipped out. Why are they not having him come in and testify? And we need to know what was signed. We need to know what that paperwork actually was. I guarantee you that there's some bad juju going on there. So back to this again for a minute.
But maybe you could have appealed to his making it right by telling the truth. Who knows?
You make sure he lives. July 23rd was the incident where he was found in his cell. He either tried to harm himself, or as you point out, perhaps the cellmate was in it to harm him. He was taken off suicide watch a week later, so that's August 1st. He's found dead in his cell on August 10th.
I also don't understand. I never heard of the policy you're on suicide watch for a week. You're on suicide watch for as long as you have the conditions that indicate you might commit suicide. The conditions yesterday or the day before were no different on the day that he attempted suicide, meaning he was in prison. He was looking at a life in prison. He was looking at going from this prison to probably even more rigid conditions of confinement. Tough guy to go to a prison, right? You send this guy into a prison population, they're going to, you know what's going to happen to him, right? So what is he going to do? He's either going to get a terrible death in prison, or he's going to be locked up in solitary confinement for the rest of his life. But that condition remained on the day that they took off the suicide watch. Are they crazy?
With regard
you got to be nuts.
With suicide watch is a conversation. I have a conversation with you. I want to gauge your mental state. That's what they are charged with doing inside this jail. So they clearly had conversations with him and his lawyers, likely, over a period of 10 days and said it's okay to go ahead and take you off watch.
10 days?
I understand suicide watch. The sheets you were given are made of paper. Is that true?
That is true, yes.
Okay, and he hung himself with a bed sheet.
Right. Never should have had bed sheets. But we can go beyond that.
Paper. He hung himself with the paper. Right, guys. There is so much dirty things going on here. We must, as truthers and people who are patriots and people who just want to see justice done, we must see that we get as many facts as we can and we pass them to the public as quick as possible. Even if you have a little site, you find some stuff out, post it, guys. I urge you. We cannot let this one go. Here we go, and I'm going to switch it to another one for you.
His room should have been guarded because there was every possibility some prisoner that got loose would get in there and stab him, kill him, choke him, make it look like he was hung. The desire to kill him in that prison was very high. He was the guy they most wanted.
Falsifying prison records the night Jeffrey Epstein allegedly killed himself, pleaded not guilty in New York on Tuesday. Now the guards, Tova Noel and Michael Thomas, they're accused of failing to perform checks on Epstein every...
Here's what I was talking about. They're trying to frame the guards now. This is the biggest mistake they can make because the truth may come out. They've turned down plea bargaining deals, and that's good news for us trying to find out what's going on. So here's this. Check this out.
Half hour as required. and fabricating log entries to show that they did. Now, Noel and Thomas were released on a $100,000 bond. Epstein was found dead in his cell in August as he awaited trial on sex trafficking charges, and the New York City's medical examiner ruled Epstein's death a suicide. But I know one person who doesn't want to rule it a suicide. Joining me now, it's legal and media analyst Lionel of Lionel Media. Lionel, do you feel that these two guards are being scapegoated? I mean, why?
Scapegoated, thrown under the bus, and what is just shocking me is that the issue is not whether they fell asleep, whether they were surfing the internet, whether they were not at their post. The issue is who killed Epstein while they slept, whatever they did. That's not the issue. AG Barr, Attorney General Barr, showed he was furious at first. I thought, great, we're going to get to the bottom of this. We're going to find out why was the camera off and why did they sleep? What about killing him? Then Michael Baden, one of the most esteemed, and point of clarification, I've known him for forever, but this is one of the most renowned forensic pathologists. Not only that, everybody, and I'm not trying to bring up the meme world, fine, what I'm saying is, fine, investigate these people, indict them. Where are they going as to who killed him? Not how did these people fall asleep? That's what I'm missing.
And it's interesting because the New York medical examiner, he is ruling it a suicide. But it is funny because you're seeing all these memes and you're seeing people, taking pictures with the little, Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself buttons and stuff like that. It seems like the world isn't believing this at all. I mean, they might be having a great laugh with it too, but there's also a big part of it where a lot of the world's not biting this.
But nobody's even talking about this. And by the way, while I'm on this subject, I have to ask this. As a citizen, where is Attorney General Barr in terms of indicting Ghislaine Maxwell? Where are the indictments against whomever was responsible for the systematic sexual abuse, obviously, of girls that have been reporting this forever?
And you bring up Attorney General.
And one more time, I want to comment on her, his girlfriend, the mistress, who basically took young girls in and broke them in like a wild horse kind of scenario of sexuality kind of thing. Terrible, terrible, bad juju things. I will have to say it as Rudy would. She's sleeping with the fishes. She probably is sleeping with the fishes. I mean, if she shows up in reality or anybody gets a picture or any kind of information, please send it to me. I'll run it, guys. With that, let's listen to the rest of this, and I'll let you go for now. I want to hear back what you think, and I want you guys to follow through on your own. I urge you again. Go out there, see what you can find. Talk to private. Somebody knows somebody that knows something. And when you find it out, you let me know, and we'll run it.
Barr. He seems to, like you said, where is Ghislaine Maxwell? But he seems to be focusing on those two guards. Could we be looking at a possible deal to maybe exonerate themselves if they tell all?
Well, you put them in a unique situation. Mm-hmm. If they get the feeling that they are going to be sacrificial lambs, they can say, you know what, Your Honor, I may have done this. I may have fallen asleep and I'm guilty. And I may have falsified records, and whatever that's worth, I did it. But I want, before the court, to tell you something that nobody's bringing up. I want to talk to you about other people who were there. I want to talk to you about what the issue is. Not that he committed suicide, but that he was murdered. And they're just ignoring it. Even Rudy Giuliani, to an extent, was saying, this is the worst, the most negligent care. Again, and I'm sounding like a broken record. It's the fact of the murder. Mm-hmm. And everybody, including the Department of Prisons head, during a hearing, is saying, well, I pretty much concur. Look, I understand bureaucratic nonsense, but Farron, nobody's doing anything that counts. We're just pretending to do something. Taking these two people, it's not going to accomplish anything.
And Lionel, you know, the U.S. Federal Bureau of Prisons Director, Dr. Kathleen Hawk Sawyer, she's actually going to be testifying before the Senate. She admitted that she's actually looking into this case as possibly a criminal enterprise. What does that mean?
Wait a minute. She said, they asked him, do you have any reason to believe that?
Do you believe it's not a criminal enterprise, guy? This is like racketeering, criminal enterprise. This is huge. This is the kind of crime where you get one, you get to take a bunch in. The thing is these are the elites. They think they're above the law. They got lots of money. Most people are... Basically, if anything comes out of this, I'm going to be really surprised. Because money will pay off people. Things will get lost. Like I said, they went and searched all of his places. Somebody's sitting on a gold mine of evidence. I guarantee you. They probably won't live long enough to cash a check for how much that stuff is worth. And with that being said, and if our government has any of that stuff, they're going to bury it, guys. And with this prince of England getting fired over there, and he's up to his neck. He went to these things. He's done this all along. He does it in his own country. That's why the Queen ousted him officially, because they don't want this coming back. Well, guess what? The dirty laundry's already there. And he's not the only one doing these things. So, Queenie, I'm sorry to tell you, you better clean house, because there's a lot more garbage in the old castle.
Perhaps there was something other than suicide? No, the coroner said this is not. Do you have any reason to believe that this is not true? No, I don't. But we're looking at the possibility of a criminal enterprise. Wait a minute. Suicide, you know, there are 4 types of, actually 5. Think of the acronym NASH. Natural, accidental, suicide, homicide, and unexplained, or that's kind of a given. It's obviously homicide. We've been through the Highway Bone, and we've been through all of this, and Dr. Bodden and others as well have said this. It is absolutely monumentally obvious that they're overlooking that, and also they're not going after Ghislaine Maxwell. Sure, she had some lawsuits. She and Giuffre had something they settled. But Farron, this is the linchpin. This was a systematic trafficking factory, an enterprise, a racketeering enterprise, whatever you want to call it. And yet, if only we gave 10% of the attention to, let's say, Roger Stone or other nefarious public enemies, number one, maybe we get to the bottom of this.
Well, Lionel, I think that we'll possibly see maybe these guards open up Pandora's box to a lot of other investigations, but I know this is not the last that I'll see with you on this, especially the last on this case. Lionel of Lionel Media, thanks so much for talking.
And with that being said, I'm not kidding about Maxwell, Miss Maxwell swimming with the fishes. That's most likely what that situation is. Again, I will be very amazed if she, in reality, we ever see the real her ever again. And with that being said, guys, there is no honor in the courts. Most judges are bought off and paid for. The system's crooked. I'll leave you with that. Most of us who have ever seen anything and have an open mind. And what's funny, in the last few years, let's call it the Trump era, conspiracy theories are now facts. Not conspiracy theories no longer, they're conspiracy facts. So all these things that people used to say, you're a conspiratist, you're nuts, you're crazy. No, guys, we all knew what was going on. We knew they were hiding. We knew they were dirty. We knew the law didn't apply to the ultimate rich. They could buy their way out, get off of it. The system is crooked. And with that being said also, healthcare sucks. And remember, one last time, healthcare sucks. Over and out. We'll catch you on the drip in the pay way back. Over and out.